Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. We got another really fun skill for you guys today. This one is one of the sigils, which are, well, the Warlock. The Warlock has 3 sigils, and this is the first of the 3, and it is called Lethargy. It says, lay a sigil on the ground that slows and weakens enemies, maximum level reached, which is 20. And right now I have the highest version. It gives negative 50% to attack speed on the monster, negative 50% to their run walk speed. It also gives some additional benefits of plus 44% damage taken, which is actually similar to amplify damage and decrepify. So it does actually reduce the monster's physical resistance by 44%, which is really nice. It has negative 57% enemy's defense too, which makes it easier to hit those targets as well. And it's just a really good curse all around. Now at base level, if you have the base 1-point wonder, as you can see, I have 50% attack speed, 50% run walk speed, 25% damage taken, and 38% defense. It also only goes 4 yards at an early level. So if we look at it from a certain standpoint, you can see it doesn't have a very large radius, but it is still mildly useful for going against certain monsters. Especially if you're a melee character, you can very easily just cast this on a monster while you're trying to fight them. But as you put points into it and you get the level higher, the radius does go up, and the duration goes up, and also all the nice benefits go up as well. And it gets to the point where it lasts for an amazing 29 seconds, and it also has a much larger radius, allowing you to keep that negative debuff on the monsters for much longer. When the monsters are cursed, or whatever this particular sigil does with this effect, they actually turn a very interesting blue color. Not quite the same blue as like a freezing effect, but more like this blue, which almost looks like a teal blue, which is very interesting. And so as long as they are inside the sigil, they have this effect on them. They are slower, they attack slower, and they take more damage, which makes this sigil extremely effective. This sigil is also on one of the new rune words, the Coven rune word. And if you are not a Warlock and you'd like to get access to this sigil, the Coven rune word does have level 10. Level 10 Lethargy when struck, which is really nice. So a 5% chance to cast this around you. I actually think that this helmet's going to be really popular this season for melees because it essentially gives you a basically kind of like an inherent way to apply this to targets. And the helmet's not that bad either. Leveling up, I used this as a 1-point wonder, and I was very impressed. Extremely impressed with this ability. It's sort of like a combination between like Decrepify and maybe some other abilities that reduce some like resistances. It doesn't quite have the same impact for the negative physical resistance as Decrepify, or Amplify damage for that matter. But it does do a really good job slowing down the monsters and making them much more vulnerable. I mean, lowering their attack speed, lowering their run walk speed, lowering their defense so they're easier to hit, all of which is very, very nice. I think that a lot of people are really going to like the combination of this particular ability together with the others. Let's check and see if it can be used in combination with curses. That's a good like check, right? So here we have monsters that are decrepified and hit with the sigil at the same time. So it looks like you can potentially curse a monster and use the sigil on them at the same time, which is pretty crazy. Dying. Don't mind me. It's kind of nuts. Like, it's so easy to kite these guys while they're inside the circle. I mean, look at them. They can't even... There's like no way they'd ever reach me. I can just run around them in circles, and they're stuck in there forever because their run walk speed is so slow. Definitely seems like it would be very powerful for any caster type just to have like a way to kite. And yeah, you could potentially combine it together with other effects like Decrepify or Holy Freeze, or even have a mercenary that's using like a Kelpie snare, something of that nature. Definitely get there and like slow down the targets by even a larger percentage. just completely unable to touch me. Of course, as soon as they leave the sigil, if you notice, as soon as they leave the sigil, they lose the effect. So they do have to be standing in the sigil to get the effect, which does make it a little bit awkward for some monsters that might teleport around the screen, or, you know, like in general, just they're really, 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 really fast, right? And so they're going to run through it really quickly and get to you on the other side and then lose the negative effect, which pretty much means that if you're a melee character, you really just want to fight inside the sigil because that's where you're going to have the best benefit. Whereas if you fight outside the sigil, that's just silly because then the monsters won't be getting the effect of whatever it is that you're doing. As far as the sigils go, I think this is most likely the strongest of the three, in my personal opinion, and it's definitely one that you can 1-point wonder, if not sink a couple points into for dramatic effect. And I really do like the Lethargy sigil. There's really not much more to say about it. It can work into just about any single build. It's amazing. It's essentially like the Warlock's version of Decrepify. It's kind of better in some ways too because it lowers the monster's defense and their attack speed, and their run walk speed. It's kind of crazy, to be perfectly honest. I'm kind of curious, like how high it goes. Like if you keep pumping points into it and you keep having like plus the skills. Like if you're a chaos character, as an example, and let's say you're running Miasma Bolt or you're running like the Ring of Fire setup, and you have a lot of points in the Chaos. You're running Chaos Skillers and you're running like all the plus the skills that you can get. Like how high does this really go? Because, I mean, theoretically, if you're one of these characters, like a fire character or a miasma character, you're probably going to have really high lethargy, whether you want it or not. So it'll be interesting in the long run to see just how useful it ends up being, especially for some of these builds that are going to get it for free, mind you. As always, I'd appreciate you guys and gals watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And one last thing before I forget, it does break physical immunities. I did test it. I had some monsters that were physically immune, and I used the Lethargy Sigil on them, and it did break the physical immunity. And as always, keep watching.